In today's show, the Blazers split 2 with the Rockets on Friday and Saturday night, and Anfernee Simons finally looks like the Anfernee Simons you may recall. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine, make it your first listen, and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're going to talk about a pair of games against the Houston Rockets on Friday and Saturday night. A little weekend doubleheader in Houston. Blazers lose the first one and it didn't look good, and bounce back and won the second one in entertaining fashion. We'll talk about both those games. Anfernee Simons returned to the lineup. Scoot's curious absence from the lineup and the way the Blazers handled that, as well as some nice nights from Donovan Clingan and Deni Avdija. We'll get into all of it. Let's do it. First, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. We'll go Friday night first. It was ugly in a hurry. Blazers down 31-20 after one, down 45-65 at the break, down 20 at halftime, and like they made them. They kind of made it a game at points in the second quarter, and you're like, oh, it's they might not be that far out of it. They're going to be down 13, 15, 20 at the break. They don't make any moves in the third quarter. They're down 96-73 after three. Blazers just wave the white flag, basically put in a bench lineup, including Taze Moore and Jabari Walker at the end of the bench to play the whole end of the game. And the Rockets cruise 116-88. That's your fastest recap in the West for Friday nights. Truly the fastest one. This was a brutal game. Anfernee Simons returns to the lineup. No Scoot Henderson, who is he was listed out in this game with a quad contusion. Still no DeAndre Ayton back. But this is a beatdown. This is a in-season tournament game. So I think with the differential and the loss, Blazers are unlikely to advance in the tournament, but if you go 3-1, you've got a chance. So, but they pretty much have to win their remaining two in-season tournament games. But just the Rockets' physicality completely took the Blazers out of what they wanted to do on offense. And now you can point to the Blazers defense and say like, oh, it was bad too. And I don't think it was good. Like, I'm not trying to sell you on the Blazers having a good defensive game on Friday, but the Rockets are not a good shooting team. Like, on the year, they're one of the worst shooting teams in the league. They win on defense. They're an excellent defensive team, and that's where they've been good. But they made 15 threes in this one, and Dillon Brooks hit 6 of 8 from 3. Like, sometimes you're going to, it's like the nature of the way the league works. Like, teams are going to jack up threes, and sometimes they're going to go in. The Blazers lost this game not because they couldn't slow Houston down. I don't think that was that big of a deal, even if they had a mildly outlier shooting game. They lost this game because Houston's defense, and particularly their physicality on defense, completely took them out of what they wanted to do. Anfernee Simons in particular just looked like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Shaedon Sharpe couldn't get into anything. I think maybe the most telling stat from the box score is that Toumani Camara led the team in field goal attempts. The Rockets dictated who took shots. They said, it's not going to be you, Jeremy. It's not going to be you, Anfernee. It's not going to be you, Shaedon. It's going to be some tertiary and beyond options on offense. And Toumani Camara, credit to him for not turning down shots, which I think was a problem at one point this year, where he was like turning down open threes and kind of driving into nowhere, which is a tendency he sometimes has. He took the shots that were there for him. It's just like there's a reason that the defense is scheming for him to take jumpers. You're open for a reason, young man. I like Toumani. I'm a believer, but like he is not at the level in his current state where he should lead a team in field goal attempts. That was Friday night. It looked like a mess. It felt like a mess. I think when I think the Blazers played okay against Oklahoma City. Like, that wasn't at all disheartening. But when you get kind of shellacked, when you get walloped, there is a tendency to the sort of the nature of fandom to freak out and feel like, okay, it's over. The ship's taking on water and we're sinking and we're never getting back up. But the Blazers, if nothing else, over the last few years, have been pretty good at responding to losses. Some of that is because they lose a lot. So they're not responding to wins. Their good games don't follow wins because they lose a lot. Maybe some of it is practice because they've lost a lot. They kind of know how to say, okay, we need to refocus. But I think there is some credit to this team in terms of feistiness, peskiness, level of want to, in terms of their just general effort and like enjoyability of the verve the team plays with, even if the talent isn't there, that I didn't think they were going to get blown out a second night. And sure enough, we get to Saturday back in Houston. This game, Scoot Henderson is still not back, but now he is out with a low back soreness. But the Blazers, through Sean Heiken of the Rose Garden Report, reported that Scoot Henderson was in a car accident on Thursday afternoon, and he was, quote, fine, but he would be out on Saturday night. So he was in a car accident on Thursday. They did not mention it in the injury report on Friday. They did mention it in the injury report on Saturday because it was updated with what the thing would be keeping him out of the game, and he's fine, but not fine enough to play in his job, which is a very physical and demanding job. Weird. We'll talk about that more later in the show. But so no Scoot Henderson, but Anfernee Simons now playing in his second game, and all of a sudden, like, the Blazers the Rockets didn't shoot nearly as well, and the Blazers offense at the end of this game finally got a boost from the guy who's supposed to give him a boost. Here's your fastest recap in the West for Saturday. Blazers up 26-21 after one. They're up 52-50 at halftime, and Jeremy Grant has 20 points. He's 4 of 5 from 3, and this is sort of their formula, is they kind of need someone to have a big night, and then their defense keeps them in the sort of in the game, and then hot shooting nights kind of give them a chance to be victorious. The Blazers have enough limitations that they kind of need to have these outlier moments to get there, but their defense is usually competitive enough to keep them in the game if they aren't totally out of it on offense, but they have a low enough floor on the offensive end that things can go bad in a hurry. But you get 20 from Jeremy Grant in the first half. Defense is, didn't give up 65 to Houston. You're up 2 after 2 quarters. Hang on to that lead heading into the fourth, 73-71, and you allow yourself to have now a puncher's chance in the final 12 minutes, and the Blazers threw some punches, almost literally at one point. Blazers built a 7-point lead midway through the quarter, but the Rockets came storming back a 9-zip run to take a 2-point lead with 3 minutes left, and then we get to the final 3 minutes. And this thing is back and forth and fun, and it's going to rely on someone to make a play, and Anfernee Simons becomes that someone. Before we get to the final 75 seconds, with like a minute 50 left, I believe Fred VanVleet shot it, but it was a missed shot coming off, and Dillon Brooks went up for the rebound, and he got fouled by Shaedon Sharpe, and Sharpe, he fouled him, no doubt about it, and he kind of got under him a little bit on the foul, but it wasn't dirty, it was a basketball play. He was just trying to get to the ball, and DB went up and over him and got a rebound, and Dillon Brooks does what Dillon Brooks does. He pops up and tries to start talking smack, and it's like, hey, dog, you won, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Dillon Brooks can't help himself. That is what he is only one way, and that one way is confrontational. But what I liked about this moment, not was like that I like to see Dillon Brooks get yelled at, although part of me certainly does, is that the person who stepped in was Anfernee Simons. Anfernee Simons said, hell no. Like, you are not going to talk to Shaedon Sharpe like that. He was the one who got in the way. He said in the post-game interview with Brooke Olzendam afterwards, like, I felt like instigating. I felt like I need to instigate a little bit. He got in there and made sure that there was like, that his people were going to be protected. There was a little mini shoving match. Folks got separated, double technical on Sharpe and DB. Brooks hits a couple free throws that were part of the foul that originally caused the dust up. Rockets tie the game, and now there is it's like going to be for real a crunch time moment. The Rockets leading with under 90 seconds to go. In fact, Tamati Kamara misses free throws. Amen Thompson gets a dunk off cutting off a post up, and then with the Rockets up 2 with a minute 15, Anfernee Simons drives quickly and scores to tie the game up. Now the Rockets are going to get the ball back, clock ticking under a minute. They've been just going into spamming post ups for Alperen Sengun. He's a really good passer. He's the best offensive player. He's probably their best player, period. They're going to throw the ball into him and let him make plays. The Blazers have gone small. They've put Deni Avdija on Sengun. And in the previous possession, as I mentioned, the Amen Thompson cutter, it's like they had sent a double team, right? They had said, okay, we're not gonna let Sengun go alone. But when they sent the double team, Sengun, good passer, passes right out of it. Blazers not a great rotations team always. Their rotations didn't get there quick enough. They give up a dunk. This time, Deni straight up on Sengun, and Sengun can't get too deep, can't push him deep enough down into the post. He gets him pretty deep down there, but he doesn't get him like all the way under the rim. Shoots a fadeaway. Deni contests it, blocks the shot for his career best 4th block of the game. Blazers go the other way, clock ticking under 40 seconds now, and Anfernee Simons comes off a screen, sidesteps to his right, splash, 5 straight points for Anfernee Simons from down 2 to up 3 now. With under 30 seconds to go. Rockets go quick. Sengun scores inside. Blazers get the ball back. Rockets have to foul now with under less than a shot clock remaining and lack of timeouts. They foul Deni. He hits 2 free throws. And so now, again, the Rockets are back down 3 with the ball, 16 seconds left. The Blazers need 1 stop to win the game. Rockets don't have a timeout to set stuff up. So they come down and they try to get into something. And Fred VanVleet tries to draw a foul. He doesn't try to score. He tries to grift. He tries to foul grift his way to the free throw line to take 3 free throws. And the refs don't buy it. And he bricks bad, and the Blazers get the rebound, and Shane Sharp, and the Rockets have to foul, and then Fred VanVleet in the aftermath throws a fit about this, commits another foul, gets kicked out of the game, says swear words to all the refs, and gets ejected. Blazers make their free throws, and they go on to win this one. That's your fastest recap in the West, 104-98. Your Blazers win. What a freaking bounce back that was. Not just because of the victory, but the way they played. They played a lot tougher. They weren't like significantly better on offense, right? Like their shots went in at a much higher level, but it wasn't, I don't think like they still didn't make twos at a very level. They weren't a very high level. They weren't generating, like they made jumpers because Jeremy Grant got hot and Anfernee Simons brought them home when they needed to bring them home. But like the Blazers, they didn't allow the Rockets' physicality to take them out of the game, and they brought the physicality to them, and it was a great response for a team that maybe didn't look like they had a bunch of great responses in them after Friday night. They looked like a team maybe a little bit prone to getting pushed around, but this is a team that they can, because of, I think, their skill level, that things vary pretty quickly. Like on nights when shots really don't go in because they're one of the worst offensive teams in the league, just like that's who they are, things can go bad in a hurry, but I think sometimes they let those bad shooting nights kind of bleed into itself, and you get a little bit of lack of toughness, a little lack of response. Tonight, they made some more shots, but or tonight, I'm recording this after the game Sunday morning. On Saturday evening, it was like they matched the Rockets' toughness, and when Houston made plays to come back and take the lead with 2 minutes left and take the lead under 90 seconds, the Blazers responded, and they responded in a way that like gave themselves a chance, okay, get a stop and you win type of moments. They got the stop they needed. They get the win. Just a nice little capper on the weekend. It always is better when you lose first and win second. It feels better on these, particularly when you're recording a podcast about it, than if you go the other way. But I think the Blazers responding to an ugly loss says something about this team's just heart. Says something about where they're at. Skill is always going to be a challenge for them, but I don't think that they are rarely multi-game quitters. We haven't seen these things spiral into like a week of stink. We've seen like some moments where clearly they're kind of out of their depth. Anfernee Simons had 15 in the 4th quarter. This was one of maybe the first games of the season that Anfernee Simons looked like the Anfernee Simons that folks who think he can really hoop remember. This is, we've seen this dude before. I'm not trying to sell you on Simons as anything more than what he is, but this is what he is. Anfernee Simons came back and looked like Anfernee Simons. Let's talk about that in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk about underwear. Yeah, let's talk about underwear first. You may know SKIMS as a product that is mostly typically making products for women. But what if I told you they make really friggin' comfortable underwear for men as well? They still make all the products you love, but they also make rockin' good products you're going to enjoy. For if you're a dude who wants to rock some underwear, the best thing I can say about the SKIMS underwear, they sent me a couple pairs, is that you don't notice them. You put them on to start your day, or whenever you might put your underwear on for me to start my day, and they're just freaking comfortable. They're just comfortable. And then I go about my business and I'm not rocking the cotton ones. I'm rocking the stretchy ones. I'm I'm going about my business, not realizing that I'm not even thinking about it. And the best compliment you can give to undergarments is that you don't notice them and they don't impact your day in any way except for comfort. That's what Skims does. They make really comfortable underwear. So go get yourself some. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and then select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. Make sure you tell them Locked On Blazers sent you. If you're looking for the perfect gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Also available at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Anfernee Simons on Saturday night followed up a stinker in his Friday re-debut after missing a week. Comes back to the lineup. He'd been out with what they initially called when he got hurt was a chest injury. Then they updated. They called it an illness. Kind of weird language there that made things more confusing. But he missed time with we'll call it an illness. I think that is maybe the most accurate way to describe it. Some sort of respiratory situation. Although I haven't seen specific reporting on it. I don't know that Ant's talked about it. But then when he was ramping up, he injured his hand, or he injured his wrist, and it's like, oh, he's going to miss some time with his hand, and he's going to miss some time with a wrist injury, but he didn't. He played Friday night, and I don't think the wrist thing was a problem. The thing that was a problem was that he just looked like rusty, and then he looked like he didn't know where he was going to get his shots, and then he looked like he wasn't aggressive. And I've said this a bunch. Anfernee Simons, warts and all, like dude has some challenges. Not a good defender, never has been. But like the thing that he does well is he can go score on his own. And because he can go score on his own, he demands some defensive attention. And because he demands some defensive attention, then you get some value off of the attention that he demands. This year, he hasn't done that. He has been bad. And what you have seen from him is some body language that suggests a dude that's pretty miserable. And if you were shooting 30% from three, a career, 37+% three-point shooter, and just could never get a rhythm, and were playing probably the worst stretch of basketball since you've been a regular player in the NBA after your first 2 seasons of sitting and watching, you too would be frustrated. So Friday night looks like more of the same. And on Saturday, they needed a bounce-back game from Ants, and he delivered in the fourth quarter. He didn't only deliver by beefing with Dylan Brooks and stepping up for his teammates and kind of getting involved in the mix. He didn't only deliver by scoring 5 quick points, the final couple field goals for the Blazers to deliver them a win in the final 65 seconds. He did it with a smile. This was noted by Kevin Calabro on the broadcast, KC, one of the greats, and I thought this was an incredibly important thing to point out. He noted in the middle of the fourth quarter when Anfernee Simons hit a jump shot that he smiled afterwards. Calabro has a special way of putting his sort of finger on the pulse, but not quite saying it. It is a true art, right? He's like, if you follow the team closely, you know that we haven't seen Ant smile that much, and it's good to see him back smiling. Couldn't agree more, KC. Couldn't agree more. We've seen him just look miserable, look like someone who is struggling at work in a very public job. It's hard to do. When I have a bad day at work, and probably you out there as well, I don't have to be, I'm not on camera, right? Like I'm not on national television. I'm not on Blazer Vision streaming into your home across Washington and Oregon. I'm not on League Pass, right? I'm just like at my desk, like, whoops, sending an email. Okay, I'll fix it type of thing. It's not like, we're watching him play out with sort of like the workplace challenges in real time. There's a strange part about athletes, right? On Saturday night, he's smiling. On Saturday night, he's delivering. On Saturday night, he is scoring 15 of his 25 points in the fourth quarter. There is something fickle about fandom that is kind of the beauty of it, where when a player is struggling, you say, he stinks, get him out of here. And when a player is playing well, even if it's one freaking night, you say, he's actually really good. Build the whole thing around him. He's the future of the franchise. The truth is always in the middle. I know that there is a vocal portion of the fan base that is kind of fed up with Anfernee Simons, and I'm not even speaking to them. I'm just saying that I hear people who are kind of over the Anfernee Simons experience. I hear fewer people who are still true Ant believers. But if there were true Ant believers, a game like Saturday night is when the true believers step up and say, see, he's actually good. And what I want to offer you is a chance to land cleanly, calmly and comfortably in the middle of the two poles. Here's the truth about Anfernee Simons. He has some stuff he's not good at. He's never going to be a good defensive player. It's too late in the game for that to change. He's always going to be that, right? It doesn't absolve him. Saturday night doesn't absolve him of all his struggles even to begin the season or all of his warts throughout his career. He's not a great playmaker. He's not a terrible one, but he's not a high-level playmaker, and he looks to score, right? That's what he looks to do. He's a combo guard. Maybe in a perfect world, he'd be a six-man. I think he has a lot of obvious six-man qualities. It doesn't really make sense on this particular roster at this moment. Maybe things change and that it becomes a more reasonable proposition, but it's kind of the same calculation with CJ McCollum for a long time. In other contexts, the six-man, in this context, it is what it is. You just have a roster where he's going to have to play, and he's going to have to start. Saturday was a reminder of what Ant is capable of, though. It wasn't an absolution of what he's not capable of. It was a reminder of what he is capable of. He can score, and he can score on his own. So that's why when you need 2 buckets at the end of the game, he can have a speed burst down the right-hand side and quickly get to the rim before the defense is set. And then in a tie game, he can get himself, free and moving toward his right and take a step back 3 off the dribble. Shooting off the dribble is a very valuable skill and one that many on the Blazers don't possess, but it's pretty much just him and Shaedon Sharpe. A little bit of Jeremy Grant, but Jeremy doesn't really take threes off the dribble. He takes mostly catch and shoot threes. There was a play in the fourth quarter where Anfernee Simons drove down the lane, got into the paint, the defense sucked in, and he threw a pass out to Jeremy Grant. It wasn't a great pass. It wasn't a perfect shooting pocket pass, but it was to Jeremy Grant wide open in the corner, and Grant just missed a 3. There are moments when you are reminded that what Ant does has value, and Saturday was one of those. Nights. I think there is too much discussion of Anfernee Simons as a referendum on his trade value. Everything is a referendum. If he sucks, it's this. If he doesn't, if he's good, it's this. It doesn't have to be that. I have sat here on this podcast, and I'll leave it at this. Since back in February, when Anfernee Simons was he was struggling in January and February, but he'd been really good in December, and he ended up finding it again in March, and I said the same thing in July, is like, it doesn't matter what the rest of the roster is doing. The Blazers should explore trades for Anfernee Simons, agnostic of the value of the young players in front of him. And I still feel the same way now. When he was struggling, and the Blazers, regardless, need him to play well. When he was struggling, his already somewhat challenging trade value doesn't exist, right? A 30% three-point shooter version of Anfernee Simons is not a tradable asset. But moreover, it's not helpful to the context of the team. What Anfernee Simons does, even with his warts and all, is provide some value to the team as someone who plays in the games. Whether he's tradable, not tradable, part of the future, not part of the future, I have been very clear that I think the Blazers should trade him. And I think they should have traded him when he was playing well. And I think after Saturday's night, I feel the same way. Everything, every game, every performance is not a referendum on that type of thing. And it doesn't need to be, because the context is what the Blazers need him is to play well, whether he is on the team or going to be off of it, because he's either going to help them win basketball games or at least help them put a developmental setting out there that is more reasonable for their young players. It is more helpful to Shaedon Sharpe to have someone else that defenses have to worry about at least a little bit in order for him to be the best version of himself. And if he is a trade piece, you just need him to play well so he has at least some modicum of trade value, because I don't think his trade value can skyrocket, but it certainly can get worse. So, wherever you land on the Anfernee Simons appreciation spectrum, how about this? Let's all agree that Saturday night he played well, and it was good to see him smile, because what we're rooting for is for people who are on the basketball team that we watch every day to not look miserable and have crappy days at work. He played pretty well. The Blazers needed it. He helped them win, a step in the right direction. They need many more steps. Okay, let's talk Deni, let's talk Donovan, and let's talk disclosures in the third segment. Join me there, won't you? First, though, let's talk about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book and an official sports book partner of the NFL. Right now, you can tackle all your NFL action because new customers get $5 who bet $5 can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. I'm recording this during the Sunday football action here. So if you're watching the game maybe later this afternoon or some Monday Night Football and you get a hunch in the middle of the action, well, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time, the place to buy tickets to what you want to go to, whether you want to go to sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. Game Time has a whole bunch of features to make it easy for you to get great deals on events you want to go see. They got Game Time picks, so when you pull up the app on your phone and you look at the venue, they've got curated selections that say, here are the best deals. They filter out the nonsense, so you are just looking at the best options within the stadium, whatever your price, or within your venue, I should say, with whatever your price range might be. Good deals to sit up close, good deals to sit in the back, whatever you're looking for. Game Time picks are going to curate the best ones for you. They got all-in pricing, so you can, which is what I like to use when I'm using Game Time. So you can toggle on that feature, and it shows you the total upfront cost, so there's no surprises when you get to checkout. Plus, they got price guarantee. You'll get 100% of the credit, 110% of the credit if you find a cheaper ticket. Plus, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download that Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. We talked to Anfernee Simons. We talked the two games against Houston and quite a bounce back. I want to talk Deni, Donovan, and disclosures in this third segment. Deni Avdija, he was really hooping off the bench. He finished with 14 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, and a career-high 4 blocks in 33 minutes. But most importantly, down the stretch, the Blazers went small. Second night of a back-to-back, Rob Williams did not play. That's going to be a trend moving forward. He's not going to play both legs of the back-to-back. The Blazers chose to play him on Friday and not on Saturday. So without Deni Avdija, without DeAndre Ayton, the other DA, you're down to Clingan and Duop Reith, and Reith has some pretty obvious shortcomings. They gave him a chance in that first half and kind of like, hey, let's see if this works. He was fine in 5 minutes, but not particularly, not like didn't have enough value add to see them do it again. And so they went away from that and they went small in the second half. Real quick on Clingan, I guess we'd have less on him. He had 19 points and 0 rebounds, a truly special night. The first person to hit at least that many rebounds without scoring since Marcus Camby in 2012. The most rebounds by a rookie in a game this season at 19. He is DC just knows what he's there for. 9 of his 19 boards are on the offensive glass. He keeps possessions alive. He fights for it. It's like he uses his size. He understands what it means to be big. He has some offensive limitations, hence the scorelessness. But like Clingan is, if nothing else, very aware of where he brings value, and he tries to bring value in that manner every night. I mean, what a fun draft pick for a dude who just like he's maybe not super flashy, and maybe he isn't like his ceiling isn't like Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid or whatever nonsense you want, but like at 20, he is very dialed into how he adds value to the team, and then he goes out and tries to add value in that specific way. He defends, he rebounds, he plays physical, he plays gigantic, because what he's good at is playing physical, playing big, and playing good defense, and like knowing that he's gigantic and using his frame and using his size. Respect to Donovan Clingan, a dude who just like a dude at his age, for how young he is, adds value when he's on the court because he knows how to do it. Okay, back to Deni. They go small a little bit. In part because Donovan Clingan got knocked on the knee and he had spent some time out. Had to sit for a second, and then the Blazers said, "Oh, actually, he's available to play," and he ended up coming back in. But so some of it was necessity. Some of it was Deni told he told Travis Demers in his post-game radio interview that he asked Chauncey Billups to guard Alperen Şengün, Rockets' best player, one of the best offensive centers in the league. A big person, certainly a big and skilled person. Deni is strong and physical, but like he's given up some size there for sure, both in width and height. And Chauncey gave him the go. Like I think this like players asking the coach to do something happens pretty often. I think we just don't hear about it very much. So like part of the coaching is trusting your guys, right? So credit to Chauncey Billups for trusting Deni, even if it was quote unquote Deni's idea. But I'm not sure I buy that. I think part of coaching is like you getting a lot of voices and knowing which voices to give creed to. But Deni comes in and just his ability to guard Şengün down the stretch allowed the Blazers to play small, allowed them to play fast, allowed them to play open, right? And which, because they're playing smaller, you get space for Anfernee Simons to attack quickly with the clock winding down. And the biggest defensive possession of the game, I guess one of the biggest defensive possessions of the game, because the Rockets got the ball back down 3 with 15 seconds left. Deni stones Şengün in the post. And one of the things that I think is important about this is on the previous possession, the Rockets, same idea. Get Şengün on the right side of the floor, throw it in, let him go to work. And the Blazers kind of sent a late double team at Şengün. He's kind of walking Deni down into the paint, and they send a late double team. And as that double team comes, Şengün's a really good passer. Amen Thompson just 45 cut or whatever they call it. Like I know what they call it. I just don't want to use jargon for jargon's sake. He makes a hard cut from the wing down the center of the paint. And because the Blazers are sending a double team, you got to rotate. When you got to rotate, you have to pick up cutters, and then you have to fill in behind them. And the Blazers just miss that rotation. They give up a dunk, and they give up a dunk. To go down 2 with under a minute and 30 seconds left because they sent a double team. So the next time down, after Anfernee Simons scores, they specifically don't send a double team. Deni stands in there, doesn't let Şengün back him down, blocks a shot, and just a massive play. Deni Avdija has struggled a little bit on offense this year, but he brings it as a defender, as an energy guy, and as a connective playmaker. As the Blazers can continue to get more out of him on the offensive end, his ability to do different things and really guard like damn near every position on the court has value. Deni's maybe ultimate ceiling with the team is going to hinge on if they can figure out how to best utilize him and on offense, and if he can like make layups, because that's been a struggle for him this year, even though he's traditionally been very good at it. But his versatility, boy, he can do a lot of different things on defense, and it allows them to play fast because Deni is going to push the pace and like get you into a little more into stuff a little bit quicker, or at least force teams to make decisions in transition, and then you can flow out of that. So respect to Deni. I thought he was huge in this game against Houston, allowed them to kind of play a way that otherwise they had not been able to in the past. Okay, I want to talk disclosures. I mentioned this a little bit in the show, and I'm only going to touch on this briefly, but Scoot Henderson this is according to Sean Highkin of Rose Garden Reports. He reported this. The Blazers did not release anything formal as far as I have seen. So like I'm trusting Sean's reporting here, and I'm basically basing this on like a tweet he sent out, right? So I haven't seen any much more formal reporting beyond this tweet from Sean. Scoot Henderson, when the Blazers arrived in Houston on Thursday, was in a ride share, like in an Uber or whatever. I guess we should just say ride share, since hopefully we'll get a sponsorship, and then we'll buzz market them after that. But it was in a ride share, like, so he's in someone else's car, and that car gets rear-ended, and he's not a major accident. He's fine, but he's at the arena on Friday night. But on Friday night, he is listed as out with a quad injury. He had a quad injury that he sustained against the Oklahoma City Thunder, a very normal injury. I'm not saying that they fabricated it. We watched him get hurt and not return. But on Friday night, he's ruled out with a quad injury. On Saturday, before the game starts, before the injury report comes out, Highkin reports that that there was this car accident when he was in a ride share, and that Scoot's fine, but he's going to miss the game on Saturday and be day to day from there on out. One, is he fine? Is he fine? Like, he's missing the game due to a car accident sustained a couple days earlier. Seems like he's not great. Seems like he's not doing great. Might be not on the grand scheme of life. He might be fine, but like, he was in a car accident that's causing him to miss a day of work at his very physical and demanding job. That seems bad. But I think moreover, the way this gets reported, and this is not about Sean, this is 100% about the Portland Trail Blazers, does not give me faith in the Blazers being willing to disclose things in a way that is transparent and makes you feel comfortable about how they're going to treat their players health-wise in terms of public disclosure to us, the viewing public. If Scoot Henderson got into a car accident on Thursday and there's no reporting from the team, there's no formal press release, there's no information, he plays a game on Friday, conceivably already impacted by that car accident, and they weren't going to disclose it if he was available to play Saturday, that is a problem. Some of this is the nature of modern journalism, right? This is a part-time gig for me. I don't make enough money doing Locked On Blazers to fly around the country and cover the basketball team. Sean, who covers the team full-time, doesn't make enough money to fly around the country and cover the basketball team. The paper of record, the Oregonian, they don't fly their reporter all over the country to do it because there just isn't enough money in media anymore to make this happen. In yesteryear, I've had a job working at that same paper where we did indeed fly around the country covering the basketball team, but the nature of media has changed. There is less access from reporters. There are less reporters on the road. And so in general, you are reliant on teams being transparent about the health and availability of their players. And this isn't a sports gambling thing. This, I think, is to me, this is a much bigger picture. This is a small fender bender accident that probably has no impact, and Scoot will play Monday in Memphis, right? What if Scoot or anyone had committed a crime on Thursday? Had gotten into serious legal trouble, had done something that is nefarious, that's like actually bad. And we are relying on a team that is unwilling to disclose the nature of these events until 48 hours later because they have to, because they're going to miss the game. If we're relying on the franchise, and I don't even know if this is a Blazers comms thing or higher up the ladder, right? But if we're relying on a franchise that doesn't want to disclose information until they absolutely have to, it makes you worry about when something actually bad happens, their willingness to disclose and be upfront about things. And listen, I understand some of you Gen Z listeners out there really don't care for traditional media and yada, 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 and the relationship with all that. And I give you a double thumbs up for that when you are allowed to feel any way you feel. But there is a world in which traditional media goes away and it's just me pontificating from my basement, and we have a lot less information, and thus everything is worse. Everything is worse when we are reliant on the large organizations with multi-billion-dollar things to protect to tell us the truth about what has happened. I don't think this is a big deal in and of itself, but I think it is symptomatic of something that bothers me about the way modern media works, and it would be irresponsible for me to ignore it here on the show. I hope Scoot Henderson is okay. I hope he is available on Monday when the Blazers play in Memphis. And guess what? I'll do a basketball-based podcast all about that next time you hear my voice. Tell your friends about the program. Make sure you bring truth to light. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.